So I've been a trainer for almost 10 years now, and I've realized that on this channel, I haven't talked a lot about fitness, nutrition, or physical health all that much. So in this video, I want to talk about 5 nutrition practices that will help you lose weight or manage your weight without counting calories or tracking your macros. I've personally never been one to track my calories or macros or anything like that. I know it works for some people. It's just never really worked for me. So if you're the same as me, then stick around. I think you'll enjoy this video. Okay, so I wrote them down here. Number 1, eat without distractions. I think this is something that I've really struggled with in my life, but I think it's extremely important for a number of reasons. When we're eating and we're distracting ourselves, we're watching TV, we're on our phones, whatever that looks like, that's usually the 2 main things. We are less in tune with ourselves, how we feel when we're actually eating, our fullness and hunger cues, how the food actually tastes. Usually it causes us to eat a lot faster. There's a lot of different things that happen when we're distracting ourselves while eating. We don't even really appreciate the meal nearly as much. We take the food for granted. So I've found that being able to be mindful when I'm eating has been extremely powerful for managing my weight because I'm less emotional when I'm more mindful. I can actually be aware of some of those emotional urges, and I can slow down a little bit more when I'm eating. I can tune into my fullness and hunger cues. So not distracting ourselves when eating, it's difficult, but it's a super powerful practice. Again, not only for managing your weight, but building self-discipline, because it does take a lot of impulse control to not automatically start scrolling our phones or watching TV or whatever while we're eating. I know that's been a challenge for me in my life, and this has been a powerful and helpful practice for this. So number 1 is not distracting ourselves when eating. Number 2 kind of feeds into and ties into number 1. It's being able to slow down when we're eating. So the same thing, when we're eating really fast, whether we're distracted or not, it's very difficult for us to tune into our fullness and hunger cues. When we can actually realize, okay, I'm not hungry anymore. I'm just eating for the sake of eating at this point. And it's that lack of portion control that is detrimental to weight management, feeling healthier, whatever that looks like. So being able to slow down when we're eating is very important. Chew your food, taste your food. I'm a pretty fast eater, I can be, and I have to consciously remind myself to slow down. And that ties back into number 1, because if I'm distracted, if I'm on my phone or I'm watching TV or whatever it is, I'm probably going to be eating much faster than I would if I wasn't distracted. I can be much more mindful of myself when I'm engaging in, a meal or whatever, having food, and actually be able to taste and appreciate that food, tune into how does this food actually make me feel? Is it causing me to feel bloated or, just whatever it is, nauseous, or, you get to find out what that is for you. But the big thing is tuning into your fullness and hunger cues. So not distracting yourself when you're eating, or limiting distractions, and being able to slow down, maybe even setting a timer and saying, okay, I'm going to eat this meal over the course of the next 20 minutes. And that'll kind of force you to slow down, or at least become more aware of how quickly you're actually eating. And that's a big thing, is just becoming more aware of our patterns. So number 3 is only eating until you're about 80% full or just satisfied. Again, this is something that I've struggled with in my life. Food is highly emotional, It triggers parts of our brain that release those pleasure neurochemicals, make us feel really good. And it's easy to overindulge, engage in gluttony, whatever that looks like. I know, again, for me, that has definitely been true. I have a pretty big appetite, so I've done food challenges and overeaten a lot in my life. But, because I'm pretty active and I, generally speaking, have a pretty balanced diet and I keep things in check, it hasn't really impacted me too much. But on a physical level, but on a mental level, it definitely impacts that. You know, the more that we feed the mind and engage in this overindulgence, the more of the more control it almost has over us, the hungrier the mind gets, and it's harder to break free of those compulsions. That causes us to have more cravings and whatnot. So overall, being able to be more aware of ourselves when we're eating through limiting distractions, through slowing down, we can actually tune into when I'm actually 80% full. When am I satisfied here? When can I say, okay, I'm good here. I don't really need to eat anymore. I've fueled my body adequately and I can move on. You know, I can get the rest packed up or save it for later or whatever. It's not easy. I'll tell you that. I know that it's not easy because it requires self-discipline to be able to say no to food, especially if it's really good food. But again, this is a practice that is very, very important if you want to be able to manage your weight, be healthier, whatever that looks like, without needing to count calories. So it's just being able to be more in tune with yourself and be more mindful of yourself. So that's number 3. Number 4 is eating less processed food. So in a nutshell, the way I would put this is if you look at the ingredient label on something and it's got 20 different ingredients on it versus you pick up something else that, like yogurt, for example. Let's say you pick up yogurt and you see one yogurt has 10 ingredients, the other yogurt has, 5 ingredients or 3 ingredients or something like that. Go for the one that has less ingredients. It's got less processed garbage in there that's gonna impact your health. It's probably got less sugar, and sugar's a big one. When you read the ingredient list, the ingredients that are listed first, it's listed in order of how much of it is actually in that product. So a lot of things, it's like, oh, I'm picking up granola. Sweet, granola can be healthy. Well, is the first ingredient on the granola sugar, glucose, fructose, high fructose corn syrup, something like that? If it is, it's probably not that healthy for you. It's probably not that good. And if it's got, a bunch of ingredients on the list that you can't even pronounce, I would stay away from that and move towards more whole or natural foods. Doesn't necessarily have to be organic or anything like that, but again, it's a spectrum. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's a spectrum, and that's the way I like to look at nutrition. I think that's a very helpful and balanced way of looking at it. If you can gradually move from completely processed, where let's say you're eating like a chocolate bar or something like that, and then you're like, okay, on my during my break, on my snack during the workday, I'm not gonna have a chocolate bar. That's extremely processed. It's all the way over here. I'm gonna move over here and I'm gonna have a protein bar. Okay, protein bar is probably a little bit better, or some sort of granola bar or something like that. Maybe a little less processed, some more natural ingredients, but it's probably still in the middle. Whereas you could say, okay, I'm gonna move over to this side of the spectrum, completely whole foods. I'm gonna have a handful of almonds or a little bit of some nuts or almonds or something like that. I'm gonna have a couple of boiled eggs, for protein, maybe some beef jerky or something like that, or sausage. I don't know. You get to pick, but looking at it on this spectrum of what is more processed to least processed and trying to gradually move towards less processed food will definitely help you manage your weight, feel better mentally and physically. So that's number 4, eating less processed food. And the last one is what I found to be very helpful is not eating past a certain time. So I usually say 7 or 8 o'clock. This can kind of tie into something like intermittent fasting. I think fasting is very, very powerful. I actually just finished a 5-day water fast myself. It's the first time I ever did that. Not that you have to be that extreme with it. Again, it's on a spectrum. You can do a 7-day water fast, or you can, simply be aware of your compulsions with certain foods and not eat those things anymore. And that would be more over here. So you can do anything in between. You can do intermittent fasting, you can do a 1-day fast, a 3-day fast, or you can go all the way over here and do, a 7-day plus water fast. In the end, I think being more aware and saying, I'm not gonna eat past 7 or 8 o'clock is very powerful. That's been good for me because most of the time I have my cravings in the evening. when I'm done work, when I'm hanging out, I'm winding down, you get those little emotional urges. It's not about never having the urges. It's about how we respond to them. Can we tame our reactions to those urges? And I found a big thing with that is actually becoming aware of them in the first place. It's very difficult to become aware of our urges if we're constantly giving into them. If we don't set like a boundary, like, okay, at 8 o'clock, I am not going to eat anymore. And then you just see, oh man, I want to grab the chip bag. I want to have this or that or whatever your little guilty pleasure is. So that's a big one, is just being aware of when you feel your compulsions and maybe limiting that. Again, I think intermittent fasting is very powerful, which is basically what this is. You're choosing from a certain time, between a certain window, you're not eating anything. And that definitely helps to manage calorie intake. So those are the five principles, or 5 principles, not the 5 principles. There's plenty of other ones. These are ones that came to my mind that have been very powerful. They're pretty simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it doesn't require any calorie counting. It requires you to be in tune with yourself, be more aware of yourself. And I believe that sense of self-mastery, self-awareness is the most powerful tool you can build in your life, from a health standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, for your relationships, for how you can show up in life, everything. And that's what a lot of these principles do, is they help you become more aware of yourself, whether it's slowing down, being more mindful, not distracting yourself, or simply becoming more aware of your urges around food and managing those. So I hope this video helps you. Again, I want to talk a little bit more about health, fitness, nutrition on this channel, because it is very important for elevating your quality of life and ultimately your experience here on this planet. So again, I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.